The reason creative marketing matters such a lot, and it's a simple, inarguable scientific point, but it needs restating time and time again, which is that the software on which the human brain and human behavior runs isn't determined by objective reality, it's determined by meaning. Meaning is affected by context, therefore if you change the context in which something's presented, you change the behavior. Now, nearly all economic logic runs on the fact that we can perceive the world objectively and that the value of a thing is immutable and depends on the thing itself. Once you get people to move out of that particular mindset, then what you discover is that magic is possible. You know, within an objective kind of reductionist, physics-driven view of the world, magic's impossible. But in psychology, you can create value out of nowhere just by telling a story about something. You know, I've felt differently about KFC ever since I learned that the Colonel was 65 when he founded the company. Now, that's not really relevant to my consumption of chicken, but it means that something about the company means something different. And so in that way, storytelling, for those of you familiar with the last episode of Game of Thrones, the people who actually tell the stories do in many ways control the world. I think the problem we've had is that creativity, because it's not an exact science, I'll admit that, and because it's not a science with a single right answer, which people wrongly think is a characteristic of a science. Because it's not a quest for the single right answer, it's a quest for interesting, effective answers. We've been very bad at codifying what we know tacitly. And I think, you know, in that room to which I spoke, in this building now, there's an enormous amount of tacit knowledge about what people respond to emotionally and how their behavior can change. However, we've never had the facility to really take that into a boardroom simply because the vocabulary we use is so fuzzy and our attempts to name things and to codify them have so far been so amateurish. A great colleague of mine said the language of marketing is a bit like the language of astrology. It's fine if you're talking to fellow believers, but if you're talking to a finance director, talking about brand iconography is like going to the head of thoracic surgery at St Mary's Hospital and saying, let us all trust to the healing power of the crystal. That's what it sounds like. Now, if you talk to him in terms of behavioral science, price perception, comparative pricing, if you use the language of behavioral economics, perhaps, okay, he'll have to sit up and pay attention. If you use the language of, say, design or advertising, he can safely ignore it.